Hey, you need to get up. We have to go. We have like 5 minutes and the kids have dentist appointments. Come on, we have to go. Get up. Come on, now. Joshua, it is time to get up.
Fine. I'll get up.
Well, today we had to get up and get out the door pretty early because all 4 kids have got dentist appointments. Whoop whoop. You know, honestly, our kids don't mind going to the dentist. It's pretty much just matter of fact now. They're pretty good about doing it. But it's just one of those things that, I don't know, appointments like this, it always just seems to break up the day and it's hard to get a lot accomplished. But somehow I always manage. Hey Google, where's the nearest Starbucks? Could I get a venti Americano with just a little bit of ice in it? And I would also like a venti sugar-free vanilla latte. Alright guys, well we got the dentist appointment done and over with, and bad dad. Apparently dad is just letting them have too much candy, so we're gonna have to come back here in a couple weeks. But fortunately I was able to watch your video, Jared, and that question from Rogue Squadron, ooh, that's a good one. But in order for me to answer that, I gotta get going home. So let's go out there, and actually, I think we're going to go home Trey Van Camp style. Alright, so one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you guys about was the new journaling or note-taking or Bible study method. I have no idea what I'm going to call it, but it is that thing that I have kind of adapted from Jason Mayfield, which, by the way, I'm going to link 2 different videos down in the description below, which will give you a more in-depth detail from him as to why and how I really came up with this. Now, this whole idea and the whole concept is really to create a system of journaling and note-taking that works for me. And this actually gets into the answer for my question from Rogue Squadron. How do you separate what God is telling you and what your mind is thinking? How do you know what you're hearing and what you may be leaning to? And that is an absolutely fantastic question, and that's where this Bible study method really comes into play. I really feel that the best way for me to separate what's just in my head and really what God is speaking to me is by making sure that it lines up with His Word. And that is something that cannot really be done immediately when you first become a Christian. It actually is a process. It is a development that needs to take place. I'm really reminded of what Jesus says in John chapter 10, where He talks about being the good shepherd, and that we, as the sheep, we know His voice, and then He knows us, and we follow Him. And I think about that because it's the voice that we're trying to hear. We're really trying to hear God's voice. Part of the way is by hearing certain patterns of speech. So let me put it this way. If you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that there are a few things that just naturally come out of my voice. I will always say things like y'all, and of course I finish every vlog by saying stay blessed and enjoy God's best. And yet God is the exact same way in His Word. There are certain things that He says that just come from His voice. And the more we read them, the more we hear them, the more we recognize them. Now, I showed you guys this the other day, and this is the Note Taker's Bible that I wound up picking up. Of course, it is the New King James translation because that's just what I've been familiar with. So for argument's sake, let's say we're going straight into the New Testament, and the thing that I want to read today is actually going to be Romans chapter 3, because I'm reading one chapter a day. It's the 3rd of April. Although you guys are watching this on the 4th of April, it's a whole but it's okay. So one of the things that I'll wind up doing is, of course, if I've got any notes, I'm using the Pigma microns over in the margin, and then I'm also going to kind of highlight with colors just to kind of color coordinate for myself. And I'm using not only colored Crayola pencils, but I'm also using Papermate Inkjoy gel pens as well to just try to create some more distinction. So of course, when I'm sitting here and I'm reading this, one of the things that really jumps out to me in Romans chapter 3 is down here in verse 28. It says, "Therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith apart from the deeds of the law." And so one of the things that I'll do here is for this word justify, that's what I want to kind of clarify, but it's also by faith. So all I'm doing is boxing out a word, but I'm underlining this point. Once I've got that, really all I'm gonna do is just kind of write over here. Now for me, justified is simply being just as if I'd done nothing wrong. And so that's how I kind of put this. My faith makes me just as if I'd done nothing wrong. And so I always kind of remember that, because justified, just as if I'd, and that's just one of those things I do. So what I'm gonna do is grab this pen, and I'm just gonna kind of highlight some of this in that blue, just to kind of create a little bit of a distinction. I'm not getting super technical on this. I just wanna make sure that on the paper I see that, and then all I'm doing is grabbing this blue colored pencil and kind of highlighting over this as well. I'll do the same thing in here and on here, just so I can see it in the Bible. Now that's really what I do, but I also want to kind of give you a little bit of an insight as to the main areas that I listen to God through. The journaling part is actually going to come in when some of these thoughts hit and I've got to expand on them, and it's more than just a note in the Bible. Well, what I do is I grab one of these journals and I'll actually open it up and start writing down those thoughts, and the headline or main theme for that, I'll actually use the same color that I'm using in the Bible for the notes. So when I'm creating these, I have kind of a color coding chart that is really just for me, and it's designed to really help me pull out the things that God is constantly speaking into my life and helping me in my ministry. And one of those things that I guess would help is if you knew the mission of our church is to inspire followers of Christ to pray with passion, be led by the Holy Spirit, and live by faith. And so that prayer and Holy Spirit and faith are three strong series, something or others. You know what I'm talking about. So with that, here we've got just some of the colors. Yellow, those are general thoughts. Purple, prayer. Red, Holy Spirit. Blue, faith. And the other side of the faith coin is grace. Orange, this is leadership. Pink, marriage and family. And last but not least, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the great color, brown. And really what this one is just for some of those words. This would be the language that I love to study. And so then the only thing I do really in this color chart is just make sure that I can see which ones these are. In doing something like this for me, it really helps bring out a clarity of thought. I'm able to see how different themes and different subjects are translated throughout the Bible, and it gives me a better picture of what God is speaking to me and how I can tell it is His voice rather than just my thoughts. Now, Jared, yesterday you went a step above and beyond because you started talking about not just a Bible system and method you did. You talked about studying the Bible in the 21st century, and apparently I'm still stuck in the 20th century. So you know what I did? I actually got a copy of Logos or Logos or Logos? Logos? Hey Google, what is the Greek word logos?
According to Britannica.com, logos, plural logoi, in Greek philosophy and theology, the divine reason implicit in the cosmos, ordering it and giving it form and meaning.
So it's apparently logos, or logoi. So I got a copy of it, and I'm excited to test it out because I've never tried it, and tomorrow is actually the day that I'm really putting some final touches on my sermon, so I'm looking forward to using it and really entering into the 21st century. Alright, and I do have a question for you, kind of along the veins of hearing God's voice and not being your own mind. I really want you to kind of play on that, but I've got a specific question for you. I want to know, has there been a specific time when God spoke clearly to you that all of a sudden you had no choice but to recognize that is the voice of the Good Shepherd, when all of a sudden it's like as soon as it all came to fruition and was revealed, you were like, whoa. Anywho, that's the question I got for you, and I'm excited to hear the answer because I've had a few of those moments myself. Psst. P.S. Go check out Jason Mayfield's videos about how to do this Bible study, journaling, note-taking, thingamajigger logos method. It's amazing. Do you guys ever have fun with these little chairs? Whee! Hey, until tomorrow, stay blessed. Enjoy God's best.